This week on Whiskey Movie Club, we're talking Joker and drinking Rowan's Creek Kentucky Bourbon. Last night we both went and saw Joker. The much anticipated movie that law enforcement warned could turn people violent. It's kind of intriguing.
A little bit.
Did you shoot anyone today?
I did not shoot anyone today. I had no urges to murder anyone. Pretty standard day for me.
I mean, I came pretty close.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, but I was stuck in traffic and fucker cut me off.
That's a normal day, though.
And
like,
so...
normal levels of murder.
It's just rage.
Yeah.
But you know what calms rage? Bourbon.
Oh.
So we're drinking Rowan's Creek this week. I've never had it.
Rage.
What's that?
Calms rage? It might entice rage if you drink enough of it, I suppose.
I mean, alcohol is a depressant.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, I've never shot anyone while under the influence of bourbon. Have you?
No.
Well, then it's successful.
There we go. Case and point.
Although the inference is, you know the show Cops?
Yeah.
What percent of people who are being arrested on Cops do you think are under the influence of alcohol?
Man, it's got to be a large
percent. Is it 99 or 100%?
Oh, no, you know what? It's 99. One of those people don't count. They're not a person.
All right, so we're drinking Rowan's Creek from the Willett Distillery in Kentucky. They also make Noah's Hill. I've never had it. Apparently it's good. You were reveling at the fact that it is, what was it? A single batch? Small
batch. I like that it says it's made and bottled by hand. It's bottled by hand. There's someone hand bottling it, like just pouring it in with a funnel, like one at a time, sealing it up with a cork.
And then each time...
Yeah.
And pushing it down
sending
the line.
it down onto its way.
You know what? I mean, they try to make it look like it's like hand drawn. It looks more like it came from someone's printer who makes little crafts and sells them at the farmer's market.
It could be. Like, I could see like them using the little scrapbooking like scissors to make it look like it's an uneven cut.
It looks like farmer's market bourbon. We'll see if it tastes like that.
It could be.
Oh, the plastic top.
Plastic top. Usually not our favorite.
No.
Good sound.
And it had stuff come out. Smells good.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Let's see how it tastes.
Let's drink it and talk about Joker. You tell me when.
That's probably good.
All right. And for all you audiophiles out there,
like I saw that coming, like that was gonna happen. I was like, I don't think
you're talking about how I just poured it all over my crotch.
All over your lap. I was like, nah, he's got a better angle on that. I'm sure he sees what he's doing.
I swear I didn't pee myself. Well, now I can, and you won't know.
I'll never know.
No.
Except it'll smell like you've peed yourself.
Well, mixed with bourbon.
That's true.
All right, let's. It's got a nice smell. Nose, isn't that what the fancy term? It's got a good nose,
so.
Which almost seems like a weird compliment to someone.
I don't know. Now that I've got it in an open glass, it's got like a real strong like you can smell the alcohol. You can smell it kind of just evaporating there. Much like when you have like a high proof, anything like just like a rubbing alcohol kind of smell. That real like
I'm getting a little of that
chemical-y sort of thing. Whatever. Taste is okay. Not my favorite.
It's good though. I like it. It's kind of fruity.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about Joker. Now, we haven't talked about this at all. I have no idea if you liked it or hate it, and you have no idea unless you saw my Facebook post.
I did not.
That's probably good because it was a rant. A week ago, I think we were talking about it on this show, I thought I was really going to like it, and I thought you were going to hate it because it would...
I was really worried I was going to hate it. It stands apart from any other previous comic books or the Warner Brothers DC universe theatrical tie-in.
It's very real. It feels like a very real movie. Like this could happen.
There's a garbage strike going on.
Right.
So everything feels real grimy. There's just piles of garbage.
I feel like that's in every movie that takes place in New York in the 70s or 80s. There's a garbage strike.
A garbage strike.
Right.
and that's a good way of just like setting the tone for all the characters in the movie. There's a lot of people who are upset about, wage disputes or some other kind of class like separation between low-level workers and the rich. And then that's kind of at the heart of this movie is there's a lot of like dissatisfaction between people and anger and tension just in the air of the character that is the city itself.
I need to say that Joaquin Phoenix is phenomenal. He zero complaints. He killed it.
Yeah.
There's such depth and sympathy and horror. Like he's so complex and it's just frightening. But you can't look away. The photography is gritty and fantastic. Like the artistic direction of the film, the overall direction. Todd Phillips surprisingly is a good director when it comes to like this. Although he was good with War Dogs. War Dogs was a cool like Scorsese-esque.
But those other movies he's known for are a lot more lighthearted.
Most of my gripes aren't with any of that. It's with the script and the tonality of the film. Here's what I tweeted and wrote on Facebook, and it's my little 2-sentence summary of what I think. I said it's belligerently amoral. However well acted, shot, and directed, Joker is a grotesque bastardization of Taxi Driver and Falling Down. The story justifies itself through an irresponsibly nihilist and dystopian view of society. Oh yeah, it's also kind of boring and undeserving of the hype. And I stand by that.
That's a very harsh critique.
It is harsh, but I've never, and this is really unusual for me. So many aspects of this movie are so well orchestrated.
Oh yeah.
Again, the photography is perfect.
I know we talk about sound design a lot. There are some very haunting parts of this movie set to kind of, I want to say like a cello or some other really deep, like stringed instrument of some sort. And it is very gripping where there's no dialogue, nothing else, just these really deep, like rich string sounds going on. And it is straight up terrifying.
All right, so let's talk spoilers.
All right,
it's time to start tearing the movie apart. Fair warning. Yeah.
But going into it, I'm going to jump straight to the end, just to get into it.
Ruin the fucking thing.
Yeah, well, not necessarily ruined, but my biggest like kind of red flag was I don't want this character to have a defined origin story, even if it's like, oh, this is an alternate universe, this is a whatever. Sure. I don't like it when they're like, this is what caused him to go crazy. I like it to be this ambiguous kind of idea. And at the end of the movie, you see Joaquin Phoenix in, like an Arkham Asylum, and he's sitting there, and the psychiatrist says something to him about like, oh, what are you thinking about or whatever? And he's like, I was just thinking about a joke. You wouldn't get it. Kind of to me that implied like the whole movie just takes place in his head.
Could be.
But it leaves it open where it's like, oh, he might be in that asylum because he caused all this crazy mayhem.
Sure.
Right? There are riots in the street, people died, and whatever.
Well, he killed someone on national television.
Or did he? Is that just a thing he thought up that would be like, this would be a neat story?
Maybe. It could be. I have to, since they haven't, they never say, really. Yeah. I have to take that at their word, and that, for me, that was his experience. But so right. I actually kind of like that. I like and hate it at the same time. First, I agree with you that the Joker having an origin or like a defined origin story is problematic. But they did solve that because he isn't himself until he stops the medicine, right. And he embraces the crazy. He was always crazy because he was, maybe tortured as a kid. Yeah. Maybe his mom was crazy.
And they also kind of bring into that, like, even in that kind of set story of where you go, oh, this is his mom, this is whatever, this is what's going on. But in about the 2/3 mark, somewhere in the middle, he finds out, oh, he was actually adopted. His mom had other mental illness problems.
So we think.
Well, if you're taking the story that we watch as fact, he has, like, medical records showing this report of, like, oh, she was hospitalized, and it showed that she had let some boyfriend of hers abuse her and her son. Absolutely. And her son she adopted because it was an unwanted child. So we don't know who his true parents are. We don't know, what the effects of this abuse was on him, and that had other like emotional breakdown effects on him. At that point, he was already on the path of like chaos and just having complete inhibition to societal rules. And kind of just doing whatever he wanted, however the consequences just fall by the wayside.
Right.
But again, I still feel like the end, you could argue that he was either put there because he had killed someone on national television, incited all these riots, and had just gone completely off the deep end, or that he had been there from the beginning. Because at the very beginning, they talk about him being in the mental ward.
That's
and she
true.
goes, "Do you remember how you got there?" And he said, "Nah, doesn't
That's a fair
matter
point.
or whatever." So he could be just in his own head the whole time, which I think plays into a little bit of the there's this whole society rises up and kind of backs behind him.
Well,
Everyone's wearing clown masks. Could be because he's the hero of his own narrative.
This is at the heart of one of my big problems with the movie, because the character's most triumphant moment is at the end when he's literally in the middle of this riot and he's being uplifted by people. He's embraced crazy. He's embraced the murder. Not that a movie needs heroes, because this is a very anti-hero movie. There is not a single character in this movie with any redeeming qualities.
Oh, no. I don't
Save
think
maybe his therapist. She seems like she might be sweet.
Or the neighbor down the hall.
Right, but we don't know.
Right, because we don't know anything about her. But again, there's a scene where he goes on a series of dates and he's like seeing this girl that he had one interaction with in the elevator ride.
Not even a healthy interaction.
No, and it was just like a passing thing, and he fabricates this whole relationship out of his just brain that never existed. So I feel like they're already setting the groundwork for none of it could be real. Everything could be whatever he just imagines.
Sure.
So for all we know, he gets arrested in the studio, if that even actually existed. But he just, on the police ride to the whatever to get institutionalized, he fabricates this whole, the whole world is behind me now, and this whole thing is, going crazy, and the world's burning because of me. It's what I did. Isn't it beautiful? And even tying that into Thomas and Martha Wayne's death in the alley is like, oh, because I did this. I took down this person who, in the movie, Thomas Wayne's a complete jerk. So it's kind of this justification of their death, but it could have been something he just read in the newspaper and decided, oh, what if I caused that?
I really hope this isn't all in his head, because then what's the point? It's very much like an Alice in Wonderland story, like, oh, it was just a dream, or Sucker Punch, where she's in a mental institute and it's...
Right, but I think this does it better than Sucker Punch.
Well,
Sucker Punch had a lot of things that could have been really good.
Watching a turd steam for 2 hours is better than fucking Sucker Punch. But I feel like it's if this movie was just existing in Joker's head, it is just as pointless.
But you don't know. I like that it's open enough.
So it's
that
questionably pointless.
It's questionably pointless, which brings you into, the mental illness. That's really the through line of this movie. Are we ignoring people with mental illness, or does he feel like he's being ignored because of his mental illness and he's just not seeking the help? I mean,
this movie is a hard critique on society. He is screwed over at every point for being poor.
Right.
This is, if you had even the slightest inkling towards nihilism, this will justify it.
Right.
This is a very angry film at society. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's a bit dangerous.
Well, and I agree with you if everything that happens in this movie is fact, right? It could just be shaded by the lens of what he's viewing it. He could be just going, oh, I don't get any breaks because I have this condition. Getting fired because of this. It's not fair. Everything's against me. And that's his own personal
absolutely. And that's fair. That is 100% fair. It seems so just irresponsible to put this movie out.
Is it irresponsible, or is this the type of thing we need to be looking at? I feel like whenever we have mass shootings, we talk about it for a week and then it kind of goes away, not to get really into sociological, political
and I
context.
couldn't agree more. I conversations need to happen.
Yeah.
That aren't screaming at each other.
Right. So what's to say this movie isn't bringing up these conversations without having a horrific event actually happen? And I don't know that this movie isn't going to cause horrific events to happen. So it's hard to say, is it dangerous and irresponsible to make this movie, or do we have, a right to make this movie about, very harsh to look at topics, which we should be looking at anyway.
And I want to make it clear, I'm not arguing that Todd Phillips or the studio or anyone doesn't have the right to make the movie. Yeah. I think absolutely people should make whatever art they want, and should be encouraged to do so.
I think a key difference between your opinion and my opinion here is, have you read the graphic novel The Killing Joke?
So, and the biggest difference between you and I, it really is that you've read lots of comic books.
Okay.
And I didn't read that. I mean, I read some X-Men and some Ninja Turtles growing up.
But specifically The Killing Joke. Okay. So I've read The Killing Joke a dozen times or so. It's a real quick, easy read. It's a short graphic novel. I reread it again this afternoon, kind of prepping for the recording tonight. And in that, one of the things I really like about it, though it's something that took me a while to really kind of grasp, was The Killing Joke presents an actual origin to the Joker. It shows how he got, bleached skin and his hair turned green and gone insane through a series of just really bad events. And that's kind of the theme of it, is anyone could go crazy if they have enough trauma caused to them.
Sure.
But his origin story is told from the Joker's point of view.
Right.
He's telling the story, and in the comic he says something to the effect of, well, that's one way I remember it sometimes, and other times I remember it differently. And I just like my memories to have multiple choice to them. If I'm going to remember the past, I'd prefer it to be multiple choice, so you don't know what's real, what's not, what's made up, or what is an actual memory or a false memory. And I feel like this movie is trying to do that in a lot of ways, which is why society is so awful to Joker. His character name is
Arthur Fleck.
Arthur Fleck. Yes.
What's his name in the comic books?
He doesn't have one.
Oh, he doesn't.
So that's the point of the Joker, is you don't know who he is. He could be anyone. Anyone has the ability to go crazy and just decide, well, I'm not going to worry about what society deems as appropriate. I'm going to do whatever I want. And that's the terrifying fact of the Joker, is he could be anyone because we don't know who he is.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things I actually did kind of find interesting is I think this is the first Batman movie I've seen or show where what's Bruce Wayne's dad's name?
Thomas Wayne.
Thomas Wayne isn't the savior of Gotham.
Right. And again, I think that is
kind of a prick
because of the lens of our narrator.
Sure. I definitely think there's evidence that the story is heavily distorted towards Joker's twisted worldview.
Yes.
I actually agree with you 100% on basically everything you're saying. 100%. My argument is, if we're going to be arguing,
that the general audience won't get it.
I think Americans are fucking stupid. No, I mean, I think about myself when I was
Not
19.
just Americans. People are
Just
stupid.
people are stupid.
Yeah.
Specifically, 19-year-old boys are fucking morons. I think about when I was 19 and I saw Fight Club, I saw Taxi Driver, Goodfellas. I saw these movies. Oh yeah, especially with Fight Club. Fuck society. You know,
Boondock Saints.
Boondocks, exactly. Vigilante justice. Kill all the bad guys. Boondock Saints aside, you have movies like Taxi Driver, where there is an underlying morality to this.
Yes.
There is. It's a morality tale, similar in a lot of ways to the gangster movies of the 1930s, right? Where the bad guys, even if you take a movie like Public Enemy, right? The bad guy's the hero until he's not, and then he dies and goes to jail, and you see the consequences. And I'm not saying the movie needs to be a morality tale. The person we're following and the person we're sympathetic to, because he keeps getting knocked down, beat up on, and brutalized, his highest point is when he causes absolute anarchy in Gotham.
Sure. But you could almost put the same argument to the Wolf of Wall Street.
Sure.
This is a character who is really scummy, really just the villain of the movie, and we're watching him, steal people, money from people and break the law and get away with it and just live on top of the world. And at the end, he goes to jail, but you're like, but it's rich people jail, so who cares?
It's definitely Scorsese's most amoral movie. Right. And that includes Joe Pesci stabbing dudes in the throat with a pen. So
you mean I'm funny?
Yeah.
Ha funny?
So, I mean, let's wrap this up because we've been droning on for a while.
Sure.
I think this movie's a conundrum.
It definitely gets you talking, and I think that's the point. I think it's a movie meant to invoke discussion.
I think they did there's a lot of aspects that are really good. And if you like film, if you have a subtle interest in filmmaking, this is worth seeing. Absolutely. And I'm probably going to go see it again in the theater just so I can start kind of picking up on some of the more subtle cues because there's a lot in there that I know I missed. If you are a casual moviegoer who happens to love Avengers and maybe Batman vs. Superman, it's probably not your cup of tea.
Yeah, if you're going for just like a surface level comic book action flick, it's not a popcorn film. I think there are a lot of layers to peel back of this movie to really dissect into.
It has a lot to say about society.
Yes.
Specifically the rich and how the powerful treat the more marginalized members of society.
Right. Theoretically.
If this isn't just,
if it is, this is the message the movie's trying to portray, or
sure.
is high society the villains only when we're viewed at our lowest? Like, is this more of a like, well, they have everything and I don't have it, so they're evil people?
Sure. I mean, they
and not to say, that there isn't, what's the word I'm looking for? Class separation,
sure.
In society today, all over the world. There's, definitely things to discuss there.
Absolutely.
It's a weird take on like things, and there's no real right answer to a lot of it.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a movie worth discussing and analyzing and studying. Surprising, because I didn't think we were going to go that deep with it.
No, we definitely kind of went down a rabbit hole on this.
This is a incredibly dark movie, probably the darkest movie of the year. Surprisingly, also one of the better executed movies of the year. Joaquin Phoenix undoubtedly is going to get nominated for Best Actor. Period. He lost a bunch of weight. He pulled a fucking Robert De Niro and
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale, yeah. So if you're into movies, I mean, well, you've stayed tuned, so you've already seen it. Yeah, I mean, I loved it and I hated it at the same time.
Like I said, I think it's a movie I can go back and revisit and like really analyze this movie.
Sure.
It's not something I'm going to just put on just to have on in the background or to be entertained by. But whenever I want to put on my thinking cap and really kind of dig into something, I feel like this is a movie like that has a lot of philosophical like discussions behind it.
Absolutely. Surprisingly for a Joker origin story.
Sure.
Quick summary. You like the whiskey?
It's all right. It's not my favorite.
Not your favorite?
Nah.
No, we've had some good whiskeys on the show.
We've had some real good ones.
I like it. It's not at the bottom. It's not at the top. It's in the middle.
It's just okay. It's kind of just a basic like bourbon flavor. We've had some really interesting flavor stuff on here. And it's just okay. I feel like you can get this same taste from almost any other bourbon.
Yeah, I mean, this is $45, I think, at the liquor store.
A little pricey.
Yeah, I think I like Buffalo Trace better. Buffalo Trace is like half the price, almost. Sure. A little less, maybe a little more. This has been an interesting discussion, at least. If you enjoy interesting discussions, bourbon or movies, hit subscribe or comment. Let us know what we got right, what we got wrong, or what pissed you off. I know we pissed off a lot of people. So where can they send the hate messages to you, Travis?
They can send them straight to me at Captain Frucci.
And if you don't want to send them to Travis, send them my way because I love that stuff. You can find me at Real Jason Miller. Again, those links are below. Yeah. Feel free to check us out on Instagram. We post cool behind the scene pictures and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So until next time, here's to swimming with bow-legged women. Yeah, I went back to that one because I fucking love Jaws.